Hi, Mama Kitty. Okay, I would assume that she has like some audio issues because I could hear her earlier. We'll just, move on and then get into the nitty-gritty of this conversation. But okay, not a problem. Before we get into that, brief overview of what we are about in SWE. SWE, again, SWE is Success Within International. We're a faith-based organization where our vision essentially is to raise people of outstanding, successful global relevance. We're very intentional about that. We are with a mission to help nurture youths for creativity, and excellence. We teach youths in God's way of success. We help youths to discover their talent and purpose. We raise an army of people who will take over the economy positively. We help people to ignite their potentials. And then our values is in the acronym SPEED. So, spirituality, synergy, passion, we live an exemplary lifestyle. I mean, look at literally everyone here. Excellence, diligence, and discipline. And we're very intentional about that. Now, the purpose of breakfast meeting, this is a meeting we do monthly, the third Saturdays of every month. Breakfast meeting is an avenue for us to connect as, one body on one call. I mean, we already connect through the community. However, we come together, we have a topic where we discuss about things that are peculiar to our lives. We live everyday lives, and the purpose of the community is to support you in every ramification. I mean, based on our values as well. So the breakfast meeting is a conversation where we invite speakers, external or internal, because I mean, we also have these capacities in-house where we talk about different topics. We talk about finance, we talk about, you know, building a brand, understanding yourself first, which is what we're typically talking about today. You know, your spiritual life, your career, professional development, and everything. And that's the purpose for this breakfast meeting. And the interesting thing about it is that you have an avenue to ask questions. You can always ask questions as we go along. And today we'll be doing something, quite interesting out of the ordinary that we typically do. We're going to think about somebody, like a context. Yeah. I would create a case study. You're not supposed to see anything to it. You're just supposed to think about it. And then as our facilitator is speaking through, the topic when she's walking us through that, apply that to that. And then we have questions. We can take questions after our facilitator is done speaking. So now this case study is when you think about, you know, stuff, like when everything makes sense, but nothing actually feels right. And there's somebody, Ada. Ada is doing what she planned. She studied what was practical. She took the job that made sense. She's progressing the way that people pay attention. People expected her to. Nothing is wrong, in quotes. Yet when she pauses long enough, there is this quiet question that comes up. She's like, is this really me? Is this actually me? Or just the version of me that I have learned to cope with? She's not unhappy. Like, don't get it wrong. She's not sad, but she doesn't feel fulfilled either. Most of her decisions are logical decisions, pa, 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 pa. Very few of them are intentional. She's been running on, autopilot, what people think is right. If somebody asked her today, who are you becoming? She wouldn't be sure of how to answer without mentioning her role, her age, or her achievements. Now, that was the reason why I had asked the question earlier that what would you say people identify with you when you're mentioned in a room that you're not in. And I'm very happy that, we were able to speak about stuff that didn't have to basically be around our profession. You know, there is profession. Yeah, some people have passion for their professions and everything, but who are you outside of that? And that's why we have a very fantastic speaker in person of Kate Ajayi. Now, if you know, as I mean, I call her Mama Kitty. If you know this woman, you know that she's very gracious. She's the definition of a queen. Like she's very gracious, she's very soft spoken, however, very influential. She's very intentional about who she is, and she's gone on to do amazing stuff. You know, we're talking about identity and everything. Yes, I would mention her profession. Like she's a chartered certified accountant. She's a certified internal auditor. She works with this big organization where she's the manager, quality and compliance audits. She's worked in PwC. She's worked in KPMG, Metrolinx and everything. However, she has gone on to think about herself and then decide to hone down on her identity. And now that identity for her, she is the founder of the Renewed Mindset, a mindset coaching platform focused on helping professionals overcome self-limiting beliefs, strengthen confidence, and show up fully in their careers and their lives through intentional mindset renewal. So please, let's use the emojis to welcome our very own speaker, amazing woman in terms of Kate Ajayi. Hi, Mama Katie. Can you
Hi,
hear me?
hi. Good
Hello.
good morning. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, but we can't see you just yet.
Yes, just give me a brief moment.
Sure,
I was
sure.
just trying to switch my Zoom call to my laptop. I was on my phone. Sorry, it's 4:28 a.m. here.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I
And
know
it's
it's
and
even
it's
much
really
earlier.
cold.
I
Yeah.
know.
Well, it's 2:31 a.m. my time. I'm 2 hours behind you. And I know that it's really cold in Toronto today, like the coldest it has been in the history
Yep.
of coding, if there's anything like that. So
Yeah.
I know it's a lot. I think minus 50 or something. Like
Yeah.
that's
So I would
something. Hi, Mama Katie. When I said
I
gracious, there you go.
Oh my
Thank you so much for
goodness.
doing this
Okay.
with us. And
What?
yeah, I mean, I know that you'd be speaking on the topic about
Yes.
who are you really, like unmasking that identity, like who is Kate Ajayi, who is Adishola. Now, this is something that would help us question what we already know, what we think we knew about ourselves, or if we've just been running on autopilot. So Mama Kate is ready to take it away. Thank you so much. Oh yeah, by
Okay.
the way, just to put it out there, if you have any questions, again, please use the chat box. We would be pulling those questions as we go along when it's time for the Q&A, and we would have Mama Katie address the questions. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Deshala, for hosting us so beautifully well. And I also just want to say thank you for the sacrifice. Guys, it's like I said, it's very early. It's even much earlier where Deshala is. It's about 2 a.m. where she is. So this is a huge sacrifice, and that's because we believe so much in the vision of Sui. We believe in, the things that we're sharing here at the breakfast meeting, and that's why we don't mind. Like it's okay. We can sacrifice our sleep, right? So, and I really hope that this session would be an impactful one for everyone. So let me just share my screen quickly. Um, Dishal, are you the host? It's not letting me, or maybe you have to stop sharing. Whoever is the host has to stop sharing and then so I can share. Okay. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Um, Moment. Okay. So thank you. Welcome everyone welcome to the first breakfast meeting of this year. Today, as Dishala mentioned, we're talking about unmasking who you really are, right? Just knowing who you are and leading from it. And for those that don't know me, my name is Kate Ajayi. And in terms of what I do, I'm the founder of the Renewed Mindset. It's a platform that is focused on helping people understand the power of their minds, their identity, how we show up confidently in life, just in summary. And alongside that, I work as a compliance and quality audit manager at Metrolinx here in Canada. And I'm really glad to have you all here today. And I will just start with this question, which, I mean, if you saw the teaser, the video we put out to market these breakfast meetings, this was a question I asked as well. If you were to describe yourself, what would you say? What would you say? And thank you, Dishala, for that starter as well. And I don't mean in terms of your job titles or your role as a professional or you being a parent or you being a spouse. I mean who you are at your core, right? Without all the labels, without all the responsibilities. I don't want to put anybody on the spot. I would have asked, questions like that. I know I did hear, I think it was Ayobami that said he was an empath, right? And that's, that shows that he's done some good, good self-discovery. He's done some good work there to identify that about him. Uh, but one thing I've realized though is that this particular question is hard. It can be hard to answer. Do you agree with me that it can be hard to answer without mentioning what you do? Show of hands if you agree, or thumbs up, comments. I want it to be, oh, thank you, Deshala. I want it to be very engaging. So you guys, please just um, put your thoughts in the comments and just, yeah, thank you. Okay. It can be very hard. And when you look at that question, you actually think, oh, this should be an easy question. I mean, I've been with myself all my life. Why would you say I don't know who I am? Right. And one of the reasons why it's hard is because we're wired to operate on autopilot. Right. So, we move from one responsibility to another. From when you're born, once you're like 2 years old, you get into school. From primary school, you move to secondary school. Like you are just going on, like your life is already designed, right? You're moving from one role to another. And so there's really no time where you were able to slow down and just examine yourself to say, okay, who am I? Right. And again, it's hard because knowing who you are is not accidental. It requires a certain level of intentionality. So if you've not really taken out that time to get to know who you are, you would struggle to answer that question. But why is it even important? Why are we even talking about self-awareness? Why is it important? So there's a study by Green Peak Partners in collaboration with Cornell University, where they got 72 top executives. These are top executives in multi-billion dollar companies, right? And they found something interesting that it wasn't IQ or experience, or capabilities that stood out as the strongest predicator of success. It was high self-awareness. And for me, that goes to tell us something important that success is not just about how capable you are, it's about how aware you are of yourself. And let me just give this example. A fish is incredibly capable. You'd agree with me. It's designed to swim. When it's in water, it's moving like effortlessly. A hare as well is incredible. It's designed to run. When you see it on land, it's moving like swiftly. Now imagine asking the fish to compete with a hare on land. That would definitely be unfair. Or you ask the hare to prove its worth or itself by swimming. It doesn't make any sense. And it's not that one of them is more capable than the other. It's just that by design, they are different. And so if you're measuring a fish by how well it runs, it will always, always look incompetent. And, vice versa as well for the hair. And that's exactly what happens when we ignore self-awareness. The truth is, most people don't struggle with ability. What we struggle with is that we're trying to succeed in environments or roles or, expectations that don't align with how you were designed. So that's why self-awareness matters, because it will help you choose, the right path. It will help you choose the right responsibilities, even the right relationships. That's how important self-awareness is. And I think another stat that I saw, this was by Dr. Tasha Eurich and her team, is that 95% of people believe that they're self-aware. However, only 10 to 15% actually are. So 95% believe that they're self-aware and only 10%. So when we say 10%, for example, if this is a room of like, how many are we on this call? We're 13 people. 10% of 13 people is 1.3. So less than two people or approximately two people are the only self-aware people on this call. But I want to believe that, we have a different demography on this call, like we're a different breed on this call. But the idea is, what this just tells me is that we haven't been taught how to slow down and understand ourselves. But when you don't know yourself, when you don't know who you are, it doesn't mean that you're not making life-changing decisions. It doesn't mean that you're not making life-altering decisions. It just means that you're making them blindly. And when we talk about those kind of decisions, they're not abstract decisions. They're decisions that show up in your career. They're decisions that show up, in your relationship. Like I said earlier, for example, you see some people getting married to someone they have no business getting married to, all because they did not necessarily do that work of knowing who they are, just identifying who they are and all of that. Also career-wise, you see people in careers that are, stressing them, always exhausted all the time, not because the work is necessarily stressing them, but because there's just, it's like a square in a, or what's it, how do you say it? It's like a round peg in a square hole, something like that, where there's no alignment. And that's what happens when you don't know yourself. Okay, so the goal of today's session, I'm not here to define, self-awareness to you. I know you know that. I'm here to get you started on that journey of self-awareness. I want you to become more grounded in who you are. I want you to become really clear about your strengths and show up confidently. And like I said also in that teaser video, the most powerful version of you is the version that knows who you are, is this version that is really, really self-aware. Okay, so let's get right into today's session. Um, when you think about knowing who you are, it can feel very vague, right? And that's because when you ask the question, who am I? It's not a simple answer. And that's because also identity is not one dimensional. You're not just one thing. You're not just your faith. You're not just your personality or your experiences or your strengths. No, you're a unique combination. And for me, I see it in layers, right? And self-awareness grows when you take time to understand those layers instead of confusing the layers or collapsing them into, one layer. So I just want us to quickly walk through these layers. I've kind of made it simple. I mean, if you go through psychology journals, you see different categories, but I've put it in a way that makes sense to me, and I believe it will make sense to you as well. And so the first layer for me is your core identity. Your core identity. And this is where self-awareness actually begins. And I'm not trying to go like all spiritual on you, but this is very, very important. So please stay with me. The truth is, even people that are not believers, still know that there's something that centers us or grounds us. And you hear them say, oh, the universe, right? But for me, I know without a doubt that that something is God. I know that God is behind all creations. And so at the most foundational level, your identity starts with who you are in God. So think about it like the foundation of a house. That's it sets the base, it sets the structure for you. And who you are in God answers the fundamental questions of life. Why do I exist? Do I even matter? What is my inherent worth? Am I valuable even before I achieve something? That is what I call your core identity. So one thing to note as well is you matter if just because you exist. Your identity is not something that you earn. And I mean, your core identity is not something that you earn. It's something that you receive from God just because He created you, not based on anything you've done or, or your capacity or your capabilities or even what other people think about you. No, your life, your life has value just because it was created in the image of God. And I'm taking my time to explain this because this is very, very important that you understand. So before you achieved anything, your worth was already established. And so it means that you don't earn value by being useful. You don't become more valuable just because, oh, you can do something. And also, you don't lose your value when you fail or you fall behind on something. And this is very, very important for you to take in and understand, right? Another thing to note about your core identity is that it's stable, just like the foundation of a house. It is very stable. It doesn't change irrespective of, your seasons or anything. So whether you're a confident person or you're insecure, whether you're successful, all of that, your core identity does not change. And it's also interesting to know that this core identity is what separates human beings from every other thing in creation, from animals, from trees, from the sun, from all of that. It's that thing that separates you, all because you were made in the image of God. And that's also is the thing that the devil always tries to attack, right? If you look at this Jesus in the Bible, when you look at the temptation, it always started with, if you are the son of God, if you are the son of God, because he knows how important that core identity is. If he can derail you, if he can mess up with your core identity, then he can actually mess up with your life. And I'll just share a personal experience with you on how knowing my identity, knowing who I was in Christ, how he carried me through some very difficult life circumstances that had the capacity to completely strip me of my sense of worth. So story time. I love sharing like personal examples, so please bear with me. So I lost my dad at a very early age. I was 8 when he died. And after he passed, like everything changed. Like everything changed. Before he died, my dad was very wealthy. Like when I mean wealthy, we were balling. But when he died, like things just took a drastic turn for our family in every regard, financially, socially, emotionally, everything. And I mean, maybe just to give you some context, before he died, this was back in he died 2001. We had about 13 cars before my dad passed. Like I remember then we used to park our cars in our neighbor's compound. That's how it was overflowing, right? Going to school, my dad will pay our fees a session ahead. He doesn't pay by term, he pays by session. Like we were balling. And so when he passed, it was like grace to grass story. I remember there was a time it was so bad that we could not resume because the funds were not available. So we didn't resume, myself and my sisters, we didn't resume school until after midterm because we didn't have the money for school fees. This was people that used to pay their fees one session ahead. We were resuming after midterm. That was when we were able to get the money. Also we came from 13 cars to having nothing. So like it was really bad. And even when my mom maybe managed to get one car, it would always break down. Me and my sisters would always push cars on the road. Like people were even laughing at us that, hey, see all these girls, because we're all girls again. Like people would laugh at us. So very easily, shame could have set in. And I mean, also being all girls, if you understand, the way things work in African context, you know what I mean. When you have all female, they I won't even say they didn't subtly communicate this. This was it was in our faces. They told us that we didn't matter, like we were less significant compared to if we were male children. But knowing who I was, and that's what I'm getting at with this story, knowing who I was in God steadied me through this period. I was born into a Christian family, and I also gave my life to Christ at a very early age. So I knew that I was loved. I knew that it doesn't like I mattered just because I existed. not because of, what my family had or what we did not have, not because of what other people thought about me. I knew that I mattered just because God created me and just because I exist. So I didn't grow up feeling like, oh, I had to earn the right to exist. No, I didn't grow up feeling like I had to prove my value to anyone. I knew who I was. And that conviction carried me through different areas of my life. And that's exactly what core identity does. It makes your worth non-negotiable. However, most people, okay, I think just what I have on the slide here, it says this layer of identity is universal. And I just want to point that out. It's universal. It's shared by all human beings. It doesn't vary from person A to person B. You're all made in God's image, right? And unfortunately, this is where many Christians stop. Oh, I know who I am in Christ. I'm the righteousness of God. I'm the light of the world, blah, 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 Very essential truth. Like I just shared my story of how it carried me through a season, right? But one thing to note is that nobody, when you build a house or when you're building a house and it's at the foundation stage, you don't go and start living there. Nobody gets to see the beauty of that house until you actually put a structure in it. And that's how it is. God did not intend for us to stop at the foundation stage when it comes to our identity or knowing who you are. It's core, right? Your identity in God is core, but it was never meant to be the only layer. And it doesn't answer fully how you're designed to express, yourself and show up in this world. So the question is not whether you know who you are in God, right? The other question that you need to add is, do you know yourself the way God designed you? Do you know yourself the way God designed you? And that brings me to the second layer, right? Remember, I talked about layers of identity. The first layer is your core identity, which is who you are in God. And the second layer is your personal identity. Now, when it comes to your personal identity, this is the layer that how do I put this? This is the layer where your core identity, that is your identity in God, is uniquely expressed through you. I hope I'm not losing anybody. Please give me a thumbs up if you're following me. Your personal identity is how your core identity is uniquely expressed in the world, right? So it's again, like I said, this is not about your worth. It's not about your worth. Your worth is already settled in what we talked about earlier. This is a question of how you're designed to show up in the world. And it's where things like your personality, your wiring, your preferences, your strength and all of that, start to matter. And we'll look at that shortly. But to be clear, your personal identity is not something that you invent. No, it's something that you have to go discover and understand. You don't get to choose, how you're made up. No, what you get to do is understand it and recognize it. And it is very important because a lot of people that struggle with being confident is not because they lack abilities or they're not capable. It's because, like I said before, they're forcing themselves in environments that don't work with their personal identity. So, quickly, what makes up your personal identity? Again, this is what makes sense to me and how I think it would also make sense to you. So, first is your social and external element. So, this for me is what I believe should have the least authority over how you see yourself. But I just thought it was very important to go through it. So these are parts of your identity that you did not choose and you can't necessarily change them, but they get to they shape how you experience the world. Right. So they're the unchosen and unchangeable factors that shape how you experience the world. So think about things like your race, your gender, your age. So for example, I was born a Black female and there's nothing I can do about it. I was born in the millennial age. I can't say, oh, why was that? Like, I want to be born as a Gen Z. No, that is it. I can't change it. Think about your physical features, your height, your skin color, your body type. I'm of average height with medium skin tone. That is it. Like, I didn't determine that. That came with me by default, right? Think about your cultural background. I was born in Lagos, Nigeria, to Yoruba parents. Even though now I'm a Canadian citizen, it doesn't change the fact that I'm Black and Nigeria is still my heritage. Like I can't change that, unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever it is. And then also your life experiences. You didn't choose them. I grew up in a home of four girls. I didn't choose that I wanted to have I didn't choose that I wanted to be born with into a family of all girls. I didn't choose that. I didn't choose that I wanted to be raised by a single mom after losing my dad at a young age. I didn't get to choose that. But all of these factors are real factors, and they determine how we show up in the world and how we even experience the world. Again, these are contextual components that you don't get, like you don't have a say over, and they're not the source of your worth. I'm highlighting it here so that you know that you can't change it. So why stress over it? Why stress over it? A lot of people have allowed just these social and external elements to determine, to form their self-perception. But you're just wasting your time because there's nothing you can do about it. So if you're not careful, all of these things that I just mentioned will start to label you. But how should you respond to these factors we just talked about? Don't ignore them. Don't ignore them. Ignoring them will lead to denial. I mean, I've seen people, and it's just very weird. Like a 90-year-old man is saying, "Oh, I identify as a 15-year-old." Make it make sense to me, sir. Or a man, you're saying you identify as a woman. Could make sense. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It doesn't make sense. So ignoring them leads to denial. But also, when you don't over identify with the limitations, there are several limitations that come with different things. Like for me, growing up as a lady or as a girl, we had people making it look like we would not amount to anything. But I refuse to identify with such limitations. I refuse to let those limitations lead. But I'm not ignoring the fact, like for example, I'm in Canada. It's predominantly white. I'm black. I'm not going to say, oh, because I'm not a Canadian citizen, oh, I'm now white. No, I'm still black. And I'm going to accept it and, lead with the strengths that come with it. I hope that makes sense to somebody. So in accepting it, whatever it is, it could be your body. This is telling yourself, this is my body, this is my background, this is my story, right? But when you're limiting yourself, that's when you're saying, oh, this is all I can ever be. No, you may not have been able to choose your height, for example, but you can choose how you show up. You can choose your presence. You can choose how you dress. You may not have been able to choose your background, but you can choose how you like interpret that background going forward. Or, for example, you didn't choose your past, but you can choose the authorship of your future. I don't know if this makes sense to somebody. So these are your identities, but do not let whatever limitations that come with all those things define you or limit you. Okay, so next is your personality. And I mean, this is probably the things that would be the first, but I thought, let me just talk about the physical aspect first. So next is your personality. And most times when we hear personality, most of us immediately think, oh, am I an introvert? Am I an extrovert? But when it comes to personality, it's not just about being introverted or extroverted. That's a very narrow slice of personality. Introversion and extroversion describes only, I mean, it just describes where your energy is coming from, like your social energy. But like I said, personality goes deeper than just that. It goes deeper than social energy. It includes how you think, how you process information, how you make decisions, how you react, how you handle stress, how you behave generally, right? So that's why you can have two people that are introverted, but they can be completely different in how they think and respond to, different situations. So, same as extroverted people as well. So when we talk about your personality here, we're talking about your patterns, like your thinking patterns, your feeling patterns, all of that in how you naturally function. So I'll give an example of two people. Imagine somebody, a structured thinker. They like clarity, they think in systems. They're able to only do their best work when, they're very clear on expectations, right? And then you have another person that thrives in highly spontaneous environments. Like they think on their feet. They can adapt to situations very quickly. In fact, they're actually energized when there's ambiguity and everything is just moving like very fast. Now, none of them is better than the other. None of them is wrong for their approach. But you lose your confidence when you're not able to lead yourself effectively, right? For example, if the structured thinker keeps putting themselves in spaces that is constantly spontaneous, or there's always chaos, you always start to feel behind. You start to feel inadequate. And it's not because you lack a certain ability. No, it's just because your environment doesn't match how you're wired. For me, I'm that structured thinker, right? And knowing this, I've made peace with myself. Knowing this has helped me to, really just organize my life very intentionally. I'm a planner. I create structure around my responsibilities. And, in terms of, for example, I'm very thoughtful about the things I say yes to. I'm a checklist person. I have a checklist for everything, like everything. If I'm traveling, I have a checklist. Like I have my standard checklist of things to pack. The day I don't use that checklist when I'm packing, trust me, I'll forget something. Like I'll forget something. And I was watching someone's video recently. I think it was Morenike Mulengi, that she doesn't take time to pack and she never forgets something. And I don't think she uses a list, right? But for me, I've made peace with myself. This is me, and I love it. Even in terms of how I spend my money, like I have to plan my money on paper first before I spend it. And it's not because I'm trying to be prudent, it's just how my brain is wired to think. And so that's, that helps me to stay focused and be effective in life generally. And that's the point. When you understand how you're wired, you stop fighting yourself and you start designing your life in a way that supports you. Making sense so far? I'm not sure I can see the chat, but I hope it makes sense. Thumbs up, put your comment in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so one thing I want to mention as well is your personality is not a limitation to overcome, right? Like I said, it's something that you have to just understand. And when you start that self-awareness journey or self-discovery journey, is when you start asking you, stop asking yourself rather that what is wrong with me? And you start asking yourself, how am I wired? Instead of asking you like why is my personality like this? No, how am I wired? You've just not, you're just not positioning yourself properly. You're just not doing things the way you're wired. You're not designing your life around your wiring. You're trying to force your wiring into maybe a different type of environment. Okay, so there are several personality frameworks that can help you name, your patterns, name how you think, how you feel. I mean, this personality test as well, they're not like set in stone. So when you take them, also be flexible. Just like the way we use AI, AI is going to generate information. You don't take your hook, line, and sinker, and it's not to force something on you. It's more of, oh, it's giving language to what you probably don't have expressions for. So there's one I really love. It's called the 16 personalities. I love it so much. Like when you go there and assess yourself, whatever category you're in, you start to get like emails on the attributes and the traits of those people. And it also helps you know that, see, you're not alone. And you also start to see people that are doing amazingly well in that space, like with your kind of personality, right? So that's something that if you're interested, if someone is interested in that, you might want to take that. So the third, would I say, thing under personality, sorry, under personal identity, we've talked about the social and external factors. We've talked about the personality. Now we're on the strength. So strength is how your design then creates value. And I mean, it's very interesting because a lot of times when you ask people to talk about their strengths, they struggle, right? But if I ask them, okay, what is your weakness? What are you struggling? What are you trying to develop? They're quick to tell you what they're not good at, where they're feeling inadequate. And when your awareness of your weakness outweighs your awareness of your strength, trust me, you're not going to be a confident person. You're not going to be able to lead your life and lead yourself confidently. You always keep second guessing yourself. So your strength needs to be at the forefront of your mind. Like you need to be at the forefront of your mind all the time. So what exactly is your strength? Your strength is simply a natural pattern of ability that comes to you, it comes to you naturally. And you're able to develop it faster as you use it. And it also produces impact for other people, right? So, but because it feels natural, most times we overlook it. We overlook it. We think that, oh, this is normal, it's not a big deal. But what feels normal to you may be like it may be exceptional to someone else. I remember I was at work, I was reviewing something, and I was trying to tell somebody, this is not the way it's done, this is the way it's done. And the person was complaining that, oh my God, this is so hard. A lot of complaint. And in my mind, I'm like, how would you say organizing something in a logical way is hard? Like I could not relate because for me, that's easy. But the person was so like complaining. So I was talking with someone else, and the person was like, "Oh, Kate, this is something that is natural for you. I've worked with you. I've seen how you're so organized with how you work. This is something that is natural to you." And I mean, that person could also relate because she's also like me. But she's like, she's worked with a lot of people that don't necessarily have that what's it called? Have that strength, which is not bad for them, right? But just to let you know that because something is natural to you doesn't mean it's not exceptional, right? And that is your superpower. Your superpower doesn't have to be something that is dramatic. It's just a strength that is obvious. So don't assume that it doesn't count. Don't assume that it doesn't count. And I came across something interesting as well. When we talk about strength, most of us are still carrying, if an old definition of intelligence we grew up, we grew up with. And I would say that we grew up actually with a very narrow idea of intelligence. For example, if you're good in your exams, you're good in maths, you're automatically labeled as a smart person. If, for example, you were not good in all those things, you would have started like you just thought you would have even accepted it that, oh, I'm not a smart person, and you always second guess yourself and all of that. An interesting thing is that this did not just stop in school. It will follow you to your workplace. Like you just already label yourself that I'm not a smart person. But the actual truth is that your intelligence was just not acknowledged. Your type of intelligence was not just acknowledged. And that's why this study that I saw by Howard Gardner came in. He's a psychologist, and he introduced the idea that intelligence shows up in different forms. And it's not that one type is better than the other, right? I think I've used myself as an example a couple of times here. I'm a logical thinker, right? And there's something called the logical and mathematical intelligence type, right? People like us, we think in systems. We see patterns, like we see risk, we see structure. That's how we think, right? There's some other people that are, their intelligence type is linguistic. They're able to find the right words always. Like you just ever look at some people and the way they communicate, you're just like, oh my goodness, like how are you able to articulate your words so clearly, so beautifully well? Like how are you able to break down such a complex idea? That is their own intelligence. They're able to influence through words. They're linguistic. And it's an intelligence that needs to be celebrated. So you have different types of intelligence. You have the bodily kinesthetic. I was just laughing when I saw this one because the other day I was trying to stretch, and I was like, what's going on? So my son was trying to play a game. He put this rod and then he was telling me to like go under and try. I could not. And I was asking myself, what's going on? This is not a 30 plus thing because I don't think I could have done this even a few years back. This is some people's strengths. Like their body is so flexible. And you think, oh, where will they use these strengths? Trust me, they will use it in different places. And the good thing about this generation we're in is people are they've broken out of the shackles of intelligence being or medical doctor, engineer. People are going for like they're developing their own competence in their area of intelligence. Look at content creators now. A few years back, we could not even think about this. We could not think that this was going to be a career that would make people millionaires. But that's what's happening today. So all of us have a certain level of intelligence. It just shows up differently. And it's it's left to you to identify your own intelligence, and it's very possible that like just look at this list, you have something on this list that is your superpower, but maybe you've downplayed it because of what our environment rewards and celebrates. But one thing to know is that if you keep downplaying it, you won't live your life to the fullest potential. You always have insecurities. You will not be living a confident life. You'll be living a shadow of yourself, right? So I want you to guys I want you guys to just take a look at this. Maybe after, just study it. Where do you fit? What are the characteristics? What defines these people here? How do they express themselves in life, right? Just so that you can play from your area of strength. And I said here that confidence is not about pretending that you're good at everything. No, it's just about being clear about where you're strongest, where your intelligence is strongest, where your strength is strongest, and leading from that place. When you know your strength, see, guys, I can't even emphasize this enough. When you know your strength, it's going to be easier to make decisions. You would stop comparing yourself with somebody. You'll be able to you show up with so much confidence. And that's where I'm hoping all of us will be able to get to, or at least start the journey by the end of this session. So confidence is really just about being clear on where you are and leading from it. Okay. And to the fourth one, uh, this is the fourth component of the second layer of your identity, of course, which is the personal identity. So this is your interest. What is consistently pulling your attention? What is consistently pulling your attention? And this is very important. A lot of people ignore it. A lot of people ignore their interest. They just ignore it. But it's a signal. It's a signal. It's something that like it's not an accident that you are interested in a particular thing. It's not an accident. And I'm even grateful that we all have like interest in different things because I just imagine the world where everybody has interest in the same thing. It will be so there's a series I watch with my husband. It's called Rookie. It's a like an yeah, it's like it's a movie around the LAPD police, as the Los Angeles Police Department in the US. It's very interesting. And sometimes I look at like when I look at how passionate they are about their police work, like every day they go out with guns, they are meeting criminals. And sometimes I'm like, how can somebody be interested in this as a career? Like how? I can't understand it. Koye, I can't understand it. But I'm grateful that we have people that are interested in that. Otherwise, like, how would we have protection, right? So your interests are signals into, you know, into what you should be focusing on, basically. And when I talk about interest, I'm not talking about your mood swings or what is trending online and all of that. No, I'm talking about they're your patterns of curiosity, right? They show up in what you read about without anybody asking you, they show up in the things you do for fun, the things you research for fun, the conversations you don't get tired of, right? And one thing about your interest as well is that they point you to where your strength wants to be used. So you can be very strong in something, like strength wise, and still feel unfulfilled if you're not engaged, like if the strengths are not interacting with your interest. And you can also be interested in something, but you struggle if it does not align with your strength. So you see how like everything is integrated at the end of the day. So for me, for example, I've always been passionate about how the mind works, like right from maybe from when I was a teenager, because I published my first book at the age of 20, but I started writing that book since when I was like 13 or 14, right? And it was about the mind. Long before I even knew I was going to be a mindset coach or even found the renewed mindset, right? So this was an area that I was really, really interested in. So don't dismiss your area of strength. And a lot of people dismiss their areas of strength just because it doesn't look impressive, right? Or they say it's not practical, it's not bringing money. Don't dismiss it. And don't wait until your interest becomes profitable before you start to explore them. If it's your interest, like just start to explore them in a low like pressure environment. Just explore them. I mean, this is just on a on a would I say just on a light note. There's this woman on I don't know if it's TikTok or Instagram. What she does is they call her the red boss auntie. I think she's in the UK. I don't know if anybody knows her. All she does is just to go take a picture by the like beside a red bus. Initially, I knew when this woman started, I was like, what's this one by? Like, auntie, what is this? But guys, this woman has blown. Like she does, if you go to her page, that's the only thing you see on her page. Post it, she just loves it. She enjoys it. I've seen her take pictures with celebrities have come there to take pictures with her. Like it did not make sense when she started. And I'm not saying that all your interests will blow, but like I'm just trying to tell you what the potential it has, even when maybe it's not bringing you money at this time. Okay, and the last one is values. This is the last part of your personal identity, your values. And I call this your internal compass, right? The Oh, see, someone says she's won an award and she has a story to it. Oh, Roslyn, that's interesting to know. Thank you. Okay, so it's your internal compass, right? They guide everything you do. Like it will guide what you tolerate, it will guide what you refuse to compromise on, it will guide what you say yes to, right? And the thing about values is that you don't always feel your values when things are easy. No, you feel them most, or you feel them most clearly, I would say, when you're under pressure, right? And it's when you're maybe in a moment of tension where you have to make a decision, you have conflicting decisions that you have to, decide something. That's when your value really comes up. And a lot of people struggle with confidence, like I said before as well, not because they lack capacity or capability in something, but it's because they're constantly operating out of alignment with their values. So if you're constantly violating your values, you would lose your confidence. You lose your confidence. You start to feel resentful. You start to feel drained. You start to feel conflicted because something that is important to you is being ignored. So, for example, this presentation that this slide that you just saw was non-existent as at 12 midnight this morning. I did not have a slide as at 12 midnight. This is just for context. This is 5 a.m. in Canada. As at 12 midnight, I did not have a slide. I've had like a really, really busy January, and so I didn't have a chance to do it. I had planned to do it like earlier this week, but some things came up at work that made, just trashed all my plans. However, one of my core values is excellence. Like I love to show up excellently any day, anytime. And so because I love to show up excellently, I remember like of course, I had like an idea of how I wanted the session to go, what I wanted to talk about. But as of yesterday night, I was telling my husband that, hey God, like I don't know what's going on. This has never happened to me before that I won't have a slide, like my slide won't be, I would have even started by at least the night before or something. And I told myself, you know what? This is what we're going to do. We had a movie night yesterday. So after movie night, we all slept. That was around like 8:39-ish. And I set my alarm. I think I set like 5 alarms to wake up at 12 midnight. So I've been up since 12 midnight. What was I doing? Preparing this slide. And I don't feel sad about it. I don't feel bad about it because I would have felt worse if I showed up this morning without a slide. Why? Because that's my value. I was honoring my value, and that makes me confident. Like it makes me show up with confidence, right? So for me, values like just makes your life easier. It makes your life clearer. Like it just Anyways, identify your values. What matters to you? I know what matters to me. I have three core values: excellence, integrity. And when I say integrity, not in the way people define it, but I know what that means to me, and impact. Those three things for me, like my entire life is around it. So identify, and it's not I don't think it's something that I just said, oh, these are my values. I think it was more because I paid attention to myself. What are the things that, when I do, I feel like yes, I'm up there. Or when I don't do them, it's like my life is shattered, I've messed up, things like that. What are the things that make sense to you? What are the things that really matter to you? You need to know them because it will guide your decisions going forward. It will guide the things you say yes to. It will guide everything you do. It will make your life easier. Okay, so yes, values, 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 values. And as we close, like just wanted to mention that I understand that we all want to be self-aware. That's a very noble cause, right? But it's not something, or let me not say but, it's more of a, like, just let me just give you a heads up. It's not something that you discover in one day. It's a journey. It's not a one-day event. No, it's a journey. You can't say, oh, I want to be fully self-aware. No, you don't figure out yourself in one session, or even in this session, I haven't told you anything about you. I've only given you pointers. on the things that can help you to become more self-aware. So it's a process, and it grows over time as you pay attention to yourself. As you start to notice the things that energize you, the things that fit you, things like that. That's how your self-awareness grows. So what I would say to you today is pay attention to yourself. No matter how many books you read, no matter how many self-assessments you take, if you don't pay attention to yourself, you won't know you. You won't be able to confidently say who you are. No, you won't know the things that are of interest to you. You won't know the things that are valuable to you. You won't know how you think. For me, how I think has helped me. Like, it helped me choose my career. People, I've had people in the same career path that I've been on for a while complain, talk about how they're depressed. But for me, I can't relate because it was an intentional decision when I was getting on that path. I did some assessment and I realized, okay, these are the career paths that would align with my person. So you've got to pay attention to yourself. You got to pay attention to what feels natural to you. You got to pay attention to what, the things that keep showing up, the patterns that keep showing up in your life, and write it down. Guys, I cannot emphasize this enough. I've had a note, like on my phone, I have a note that this is what this note is just about is about me. And it's not a fancy note, it's not an organized note. Once I discover something or once I notice a pattern or something just clicks, I write it down. Oh, I like this person. Oh, I just realized that I really love this person's music. Those are the kind of things I write. The things that make me, the things that makes me happy. I love aesthetically pleasing places. Like those are the things that make me happy, the things that make me, I write all those things down. I'm a logical thinker. That's how I'm not trying to reinvent myself. I'm just discovering who I am. So write it down. And I was, these people, I've shared this tip with a lot of people, and each time they come back to me, they're like, "Oh my goodness, Kate, thank you so much. This has helped me. Now I'm seeing myself. I'm getting to see myself clearly. I'm getting to know who I am." So write things down. Notice yourself. The moments that make you feel off, notice it. Write it down. The moment that makes you happy, write it down. That's the only way you can know you. That's the only way you can confidently answer the question of who you are without saying, oh, I walk in XYZ. Of course, that's part of your, the expressions of your identity, but that's not the core of who you are. So, guys, just want to let you know that there's room for you anywhere. There's room for you. You don't have to shrink. You don't have to compete. You don't have to, become someone else to be able to bring value to that table. No, you just have to know what you bring. That's it. You just have to know what you bring. You have to know your type of intelligence. You have to know your type of strength, your interest, all of that. You have to know how you're wired. And once you do that, you'll be able to show up with confidence. You'll be able to show up with so much clarity and, you also be at peace with yourself. So thank you so much for listening. I hope this has been of value to you. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or unmute, but I'll let Deshala do the honors. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Okay, I was looking forward to the session, and I'm sure that we've all learned so much from Mama Kate. This has been very insightful and practical. Like, there's all of this bogus grammar and stuff that people talk about these days in seminars and, webinars and fancy names they call it. But a lot of them are just like textbook stuff. This is like literal practical stuff. And I very much appreciate you, Mama Katie, for distilling, you know, these things, helping us to understand better who we are, such that we're able to go out there and be who we really want to be. Because there's that thin line between, just being who you need to be at the time and being who you really want to be. I learned a lot from the conversation. You talked about how success is not how capable you are. It's really is a function of how self-aware you are. And then about the layers of identity, you help to put it into context. So there's the core identity, there's the fact that, God has made you this person. Like, I mean, I'm also a Christian, and that's also very important for me. God has made you this person. However, how are you, how are you embracing that such that you are manifesting who God has called you to be? That thing that you very much desire, how are you manifesting that? So, personal identity, how your core identity is uniquely expressed through you, meaning that what God has called you to be, how are you essentially expressing that thing to yourself first before the world at large? So thank you so much, Mama Katie. I mean, again, practical stuff, the social and external factors, you can't control it. So embrace it, your personality, your strengths. Now, that thing, this thing you just talked about, where, you know, things that your strength doesn't have to be like something that's very fancy, some dramatic stuff. You can do stunts and do backflips and all of that. However, it's in the little things, it's in that thing that makes you stand out from the next person. And sometimes when I think about myself and I think about some people, case in point, I volunteer for a lot of organizations, and when I'm not doing that thing, I just feel like, some people are like, you need to be making money from these things. And I'm like, you guys don't get it. Like, you don't get it. Like, I have my paid job, yeah, but these are the things that make me who I am. These are the things that make me happy. And now you've helped me to put it into context that I don't need to be thinking that, oh, am I doing too much? Am I not being, financially, sound for me to be volunteering for organizations and stuff. So thank you very much for that. Um, if we have any questions, okay, we don't have any questions in the chat box yet. Oh yeah, Eunice also talked about, your values help you to show up confidently, which is very true. Values, like we literally need to live our lives value based, like via some principles. Like these are the principles that you live by. Like when people see, they're like, oh, okay, Makiti, like I said, she's gracious. That's that's something that I've noticed over time, and it has worked for her. She's soft spoken, but very influential in what she does. So again and again and again, thank you so much. I have a few questions for you, and I feel like the questions will benefit, the audience. And if you also have questions, please feel free to raise your hand, and we can take questions for the next 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes thereabout. Um, so like I said, as I if you have the question, just raise your hand and then we'll address that. But Mama Katie, from this standpoint, how can one tell the difference between evolving into their true self and simply reacting to, frustration or burnout? And I would, put some context into this. You you're trying to, there's this thin line between overthinking things. Like you're like, am I there's this me, am I because you're burning out, you're now thinking that, "Oh, okay, um I can't do this thing. This is not me." It's stretching you. So there's that thing, like how do you bridge that gap between, staying true, evolving into your true self, and then simply just reacting to frustration and burnout? How do you tell what the difference is?
Okay. Thank you for that, Disha. That's an interesting question. So I think for me, I would say that it all boils down to um, maybe starting with your values, for example. Uh, I wouldn't say right now, I mean, like I said, I've been up since 12 midnight, lacking sleep. But for me, I'm my true self right now, like I'm my higher self right now. And that's because somewhere at my core, I'm aligned. I'm aligned with I'm doing what I love. I'm speaking on a topic that I really love. I'm speaking on something that I really love, right? So it's not something that is misaligned with me. And so I think at the end of the day, what is the result you're getting from that thing? What is would I say, the resulting effect of whatever it is you're dealing with? Is it bringing you joy? Yes, you're burnt out, but is it because of the actions, or because of, like, is it because of the thing you're doing, or because of like the things surrounding it? So there are two things. Is it because of the actual action? Like, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Or it's just that, or maybe you've not just planned yourself. Like right now,
Mm.
I've just not, I didn't just plan my time properly. That's why I ended up in this situation. But I don't regret what I'm doing right now. So again, it just goes back to what is the resulting effect of what is happening, in with you, and is it aligned with you? I don't know if that
Mm.
answers your question, but that's the way I was able
Yes,
to interpret
yes,
it.
yes. So what I took from what you said, you talked like, so your values, and then separating the current situation from from your true self. That's what I got. Like, so
Hmm.
your values will help you to figure out that, okay, this is not just burnout. Like, are you getting fulfillment from it?
Hmm.
When you're getting fulfillment from it, it speaks to the fact that the current state in which you're feeling is just, oh, okay, I'm just
Temporary.
tired.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I didn't plan properly, or reevaluation and stuff doesn't mean
Hmm.
that you are not, like, you're not evolving into your true self. So yes,
Yep.
that helps to put that in context. I'm gonna take the question from Success Within International. I believe that's Olamide, and
Yeah.
then I'll go back to another question.
Hi. Thank you so much, Mama Kate, for that. I think it's been such an amazing session. So this is like a follow-up question to what Dishola asked earlier. So, yes, I get that it ties back to what's bringing you joy, what the impact is for you. But let me bring the context of Nigeria, for example.
Hmm.
I desire, in quote now, this is not me, but I desire to say, I want to become an actress. This is something I love doing. This is something that gives me joy, expressing and telling a story, all of that. Year one, nothing. Year two, nothing, or maybe a bit difficult. And then I have to then, oh, okay, get a job. I get a job. And I mean, it's more like at least this is putting food on my table and then I
Hmm.
get comfortable in it. Or at least this is paying my bills. That's one way to look at it. Another would be I have this way I think, I have this way I like to do things, but maybe my environment doesn't exactly support it. So over time, I just, okay, you know what's going to bring me peace of mind? And before
Hmm.
you know it, start to move into these things. And I mean, it's not even about, oh, what the impact is or anything. It's more like what is giving me peace of mind. And it starts to look like the better deal. So
Hmm.
how do you then, you know, balance this and not get into that trap?
Okay. I think that you've also sort of answered your question, right? It's a trap. It's a trap. And when I was talking about the social and external factors early on, I did mention that there's some things you can't control, but you also should not let the limitations of those things lead the way. So you talked about you want to be an actress, you really love acting, but you're not able to, year one, year two, you're not able to. Now you've allowed your current circumstance to limit you. Have you looked outside? Like, I, I mean, it's Nigeria. The world is larger than Nigeria. There are several other places. There are other African countries. Like, have you looked out? I mean, it might seem like it's not practical, but trust me, it is. Have you considered going, like, traveling? Have you considered getting an education for it? Like, have you put yourself in that position to actually get it, or you're just like Lazarus and just waiting for things to fall on you? No, you have to still pursue. Like, because it's your strength, because it's your interest, doesn't mean it would naturally come to you. Now, there was a story I heard from a pastor recently. This was her sister, I believe. she's a writer. She's been writing for like years, and people have been telling her like this writing in Nigeria is not paying anything, it's not bringing food to the table. Like, get something else. And I don't know if she got something else, but I know she stuck with the writing. She was writing in newspapers, all of that. And she got a leading for herself and her family to travel to the US. They did go to the US, and when she was there, it was God, like, this is the story, I don't know, but this is what I heard. Like, God was telling them that this is your new home. And she's like, no, like, we're here on visitor's visa. Like, how can this be my new home? And then God told her to start the process. She got through to an immigration lawyer, and this lawyer started asking her questions. There's several pathways to come into the US. There's something called the exceptional talent pathway. And she's like, I don't have exceptional talent. Again, how people downplay their strength. She said, I don't have exceptional talent. And then she just talked to the lawyer about everything that she's done in life and all of that. And she talked about how she's written books, although it hasn't paid her, like it hasn't paid her anything. She's written articles, she's gotten awards, like just awards, recognitions, and all. And the person was like, "Oh my goodness, that is an exceptional talent." And that was properly packaged. And she, I mean, long story short, she was able to get the exceptional talent visa in the US. Her entire family was able to relocate to the US. Now, this is somebody that back home in Nigeria, the book writing wasn't anything. She could have settled for something else, gotten a job, and would never have seen the potential, like she would never know the potential that writing that book would have had on even relocating an entire family to the US. So, two things. Don't let your circumstance limit you. And secondly, explore. Like, I mean, again, it's not like you always have to explore all of your interests. It's not like everything, all of your interests has to pay. But if it's that deep for you, like if it's that meaningful, if it's that important to you, I would say you shouldn't shortchange yourself. While, I mean, right now, I'm a mindset coach. If you ask me, I can do this full time, but is he paying me right? Like I've not earned it. Okay, I think my husband has paid me. My husband is the only person that has paid me for mindset coaching. He invited me to speak at one of his programs and he paid me. I didn't ask for money, but he just like I was like, okay. But what I'm saying is it has not paid me yet. I can do this full time, but am I going to leave my job to do it now? Like to do this full time? No, I except maybe God tells me tomorrow that I want you to leave your full-time job right now. So I'm able to balance both of them. So that's what I would say. Like if that thing is really important to you, you will find a way to do it alongside what is already paying you and just make sure that you don't fall into the trap of comfort. Because when you fall into that trap of comfort, you really just shortchange yourself. There's so much ahead that you can do with that thing that is unique to you, that thing that is your strength, your superpower. There's so much you can do with it, but you just have to explore it. If you don't explore it, it's not going to fall on you. I hope that clarifies.
Yes, yes, that was perfect. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Olamide. Thank you, Mama Titi. My question, like my follow-up question is it's like the flip side of what Olamide mentioned. So Olamide spoke about you are trying and trying, and then you get comfortable in something else that, maybe works at the time such that it feels like you drop that person that you are. I mean, that's like who you are.
Mhm.
Is there the flip side is, and I think you started to answer it, but I would like that you address it specifically. The flip side is there a risk in focusing too much on finding yourself? And how do people stay grounded while still exploring your identity? Because it's a continuous process. So,
Yeah, good question. And I think I also touched on it earlier, right? When it comes to finding yourself, it's not something you do out of pressure. No, you do it out of pressure, you get the wrong thing out of it. So it's something you do like just by paying attention to yourself. It's something you do continuously every day. And it's like driving, for example. You're going somewhere and there's a fog. You can only see as far as you're driving. Like you can't see further ahead more than what you can see in that moment. I don't know if that happens, like if you have a lot of maybe yeah, during Harmattan in Nigeria, when you're driving, you can't really see. Like sometimes it will even look as if, oh, there's no road. But the more you move, the clearer things become. And that's one thing that, that's one approach you have to take to self-discovery. Keep moving. Don't say, oh, I've not discovered myself, so I'm going to stay here. No, keep moving. The more you move, the more you explore, the more things will become clear to you. The more you'll be able to see, oh, okay, I tried this, I didn't like it. Or that's something that goes in your note. I don't like XYZ. For example, I studied biochemistry in school. Going into university was like, oh, you're going to be a medical doctor, blah, blah, blah. And then in my third year, I had an internship and I was working in a laboratory as a biochemist or something, some lab scientist, something like that. It was in that moment I was like, oh my God, this is error. Like error, error, error. I cannot. And so when I went back to school, like when I went back to my final year, I already knew in my heart that this is biochemistry, this is where it's going to end. I'm not going to do a single thing with it because I did not like it. I did not enjoy it. It was so monotonous. I just did not like it. And so when I graduated, there was the opportunity to look for, like, to get a job in the biochemistry field. My mom knew people in like pharmaceutical companies that I could get connected to. But I said, no, I am not doing this. Was I sure what I wanted to do? No, but at least I was certain what I didn't want to do. But did I say I'm folding my hands and I'm not doing anything? No. I got a job as a customer service professional. Like I was working as a customer service professional at Jumia for a year and 4 months before I finally transitioned into audit. So you're not going to sit and fold your hands and not do anything. You're going to keep moving with the level of clarity that you have in the moment. And again, you're not going to do this out of pressure. You're going to do this, with ease. Like I said, it's not a one-time journey. It's something that you keep discovering yourself till the end of your life. So, I mean, what's the rush? What's the pressure? Yeah. So that's um that's how I see
Yeah.
that question. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. We very much appreciate that. My final question before, I mean, I don't see any hands in the house, so I can ask one more question. So you talked about, social construct and, external factors and all of that. Um, in a situation whereby, I mean, you know that our community is a combination of people that are just getting out of school. And then we also still have some people that there is this very traditional mindset from where they're coming from, and they're trying to break out of, that cocoon, like that cycle. What is your advice for them without necessarily, you know, tarnishing their reputation or burning bridges, if you get what I mean, with the because you can't change your family, right? That's
Yeah.
something that we've established. So what's like how do they break out of that whole cycle? You're trying to break out of it. You have this family of people or this community of people that you didn't choose. They
hmm
came with you. Like you can't control that. But how do you break out of that cycle? Because it can be very difficult sometimes.
Yeah. So one thing I would say is God has a purpose for everything. There are no mistakes. The family you're born into, the environment you're in, God was not blind when all of that was happening, right? So you need to take comfort in that. And if at this point where you are, you have a desire to step into something bigger, something more, you're an adult. Like nobody should be able to stop you from so there are two different things now, right? You're not going to disown your family, but you're not also going to let that hold you back from what you truly desire. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen like videos of Vicky James, for example, when she talks about, yeah, and not even just talks about, she shows us pictures of where she grew up. This is like she grew up in a slum, but she doesn't look like where she is today because she allowed herself. I mean, from what I see, I don't know, like I don't know her personally, but from what we see online, she allowed herself explore and become that person that she like she really wants to be. So if there's a desire in your heart, like you have that desire to be different from your family, that's a good thing. That's a good thing, and that's something you should explore. Of course, like I said, when it comes to your social and external element, accept it. Even in your journey to becoming a better person or a different person from where you were born, you still got to accept it. You shouldn't be the person that, oh, when they're calling you for an award because your mom is not the posh person, she's not the, the elite person, you're not able to proudly show her. But don't forget that it was their sacrifices and their efforts that brought you to where you were, where you got to before you not even realized that, oh, I want to become something better. So, two things. You got to accept, like, your family, accept all their drama, accept everything that comes along with it, but don't let it stop you. And in terms of you trying to get out, how do you break out of that cocoon? Explore. Like you already know your end state, you already know what you want. Then just map out a course for you. Listen to people that are already there. Do things that these people have done. People's what's it called? Principles. You get principles from a lot of people's stories. You go for webinars like this, you hear people share their experiences, you know, and just take action. That's all. Take action. I hope that explains it.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It most certainly does. Thank you very much, Mama Katie. I mean, I maxed out all my questions that came to mind as we were having this conversation. Thank you so much. Is there any other person in the house that has any questions? And if you don't have questions, I think it would be great to share what you learned and more importantly, what you'd be doing differently as, as the days come by. Like, okay, so from literally after this conversation, what is that thing you'd be doing differently? One thing that I'll take first off, are there any more questions before I proceed with that? Any more questions in the house? No questions? Okay, fantastic. So my key takeaway, I am that person that documents already. However, I have heard from Mama Kitty now that you can document about yourself. My notes are my eye notes. Like I have notes everywhere. I'm a hard copy person. I'm a checklist kind of person. And however, there's something that you said that stood out for me. Documenting about yourself, not like about other stuff that you need to do and all of these things. Documenting about yourself, like there's that doesn't have to be fancy, but there's that page where you discover something about yourself. Put it on there. I mean, write the vision, make it plain, right? And then
Mhm.
anything you don't write, you probably will not remember. And
Yeah.
then when it comes to you again, you're kind of like frustrated and stuff. So that's one very practical step I would be taking. Be more intentional about documentation, like paying attention to myself, literally being conscious of that during the course of my every activity, and then not just thinking about it, actually documenting it such that I can reference it at a later date to help me, make more informed decisions. So yes, that's one practical step that I like one practical thing that I would be doing differently going forward. I'm going to call names. If okay, I think somebody. Oh yeah, so Rosalind says what I'll be doing differently is to pen. Oh, okay, we're in this together. Is to pen down patterns, just like Mama Katie mentioned. Thank you very much. Okay, so who else wants to go? Eunice, Isaac, Fomitar, Sheung, um, who's Dreamboard Initiative? Oh, is that
That should be
okay?
Shuri. That should be
Shuri.
Shuri.
Oh, Shuri. Okay. Hi, Shuri. Any
Hi,
left?
Dishala. Hi, Mama
Hi.
Kate.
Hi, Shuri.
Hiya.
I think you joined during the course of the conversation, but I'm sure you must have also picked up one or two things. So what's that one thing, just one thing that you'd be doing differently outside of this conversation, like after this conversation?
Okay, so I would rephrase it in my own words. And that is I'll stop postponing joy. Okay. And this was the way Mama Kate put it was, putting off things that interest you because probably it's not the right time, or you get to it later and then you realize that there's no later. You've missed it, right? So, just paying that keen attention to myself and the things that interest me and how I can give more life to those things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. I think that's a very practical one as well, very real. And I think we should all practice that because sometimes we like we don't give ourselves enough credits, you know. Yeah, and I'm not speaking career advancement or professional, whatever, like your core, like your personal identity. We don't give ourselves enough credit. So yeah, thank you for bringing that to light, Shuri. Shion says that
So,
I intend to be mindful. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
oh,
Yes.
sorry. So I mean, just because I see that a lot of people are interested in the things that, just penning down things. I just open my notes and I'm just looking at the things I write about myself, like the things I've written about myself over the years, right? So one of the things I wrote is what are some words that describe me, right? What is my personal statement? What is my, who's my favorite musician? What are the things that put me off? Maybe somebody annoyed me and I realized, oh, I actually don't like this thing. And I mean, not the situation, but I wrote it there, right? I think anyway, I don't want to give too much details, but I wrote that there. I have a section here on the awards and nominations that I've received. Like, I probably would have forgotten these things if I have awards here from 2016, right? I probably would have forgotten if I didn't write it down, right? I talked about, some of my weaknesses. I talked about some of the questions that, burns in my heart continuously. I talked about, what else can I see here? I talked about things I love about myself. Oh goodness, like I have a long list of things that I love about myself.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
Anyway,
I
so
love
just to
it.
give you an idea of things, so I talked about my leadership style, right? What's my leadership style? What's my 16 personalities when I did my assessment, the results, like the high level results, I have it here as well. What else? What else? I mean, just giving you ideas of what you can write. And then before you know it, you can even write a memoir about yourself. Like you can write your life story and your life's journey. I have something here as well too that, I think that day I was just in a very like deep reflection mode and I started to think like highlight the different things that have shaped my story, my journey. I know I have all of that here. So it's like, see, just like you said, I'm a notes girly. I have, as at today, I have 2,098 notes on my phone as at today. That's how, like, when it comes to notes, oh goodness me, please take everything, but don't, no, no, don't take everything. Don't take everything, but don't take my notes. Anyways, just thought to add a little
Okay.
bit context to that.
Yeah, that was very helpful. That was very helpful. Like, okay, so you experience a scenario and you're like, oh, actually, this thing made me react this way. I don't like this thing, so I won't like it to be repeated. And that
Mhm.
way you can constructively, speak about it subsequently. And oh, I actually really like that. Thank you. So Shion says, I intend to be mindful of documenting my discovery of myself. Mama Kate said to not shrink in any or every room, and that confidence comes as we discover ourselves. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Oluwaseun. Okay, okay, okay. So it's been a fantastic session. I mean, for those that were not able to speak, you can still use the chat box. We would appreciate, hearing your thoughts as well. Fumito, Eunice, Isaac. And who else on the call? Oh yeah, yeah, about that. Please share your thoughts, share what you've learned from the session, share what you'd be doing differently subsequently. It's been a
And
very real one. Thank you
sorry,
so
Deshula,
much.
just have
Yeah.
something to share. I don't know if you mentioned it earlier that we kind of restructured our breakfast. I don't know if you've talked about it or something that you plan to talk about later.
Yeah,
Okay.
like
Yeah, just to give or set expectations for the audience, right? So one of the things that we were trying to do this year is to develop our competencies. Like we want to actually see transformation in everybody that attends breakfast meeting or in the sweet community generally. So if you look at the structure today, normally we would have had like a games time, but we took that out because we wanted to have enough time to be able to go, go through the session, ask questions, discuss and have real conversations because we don't want a session where we've addressed a topic and we are still struggling with it. Of course, you would still need to develop, but we want to like would I say I dressed the entire thing. And even next month, like we're still talking around something that has to do with, I think it's on if I recall the topic, it's on healing yourself. So this entire quarter is like, just taking ownership of yourself, owning your worth. I think in March we're talking something about confidence, how to show up, how to have that presence. Because some people internally they're okay, but externally they're not able to really translate that confidence, right, to the rooms they're in, maybe they're, things like that. So the idea is we want to if we're picking a particular competence in SWE, we want to exploit fully. We have another quarter that is going to be just dedicated to communication. I think the 3 months in that quarter will be dedicated to communication, different aspects of communication, and we're going to make it very practical. So I hope, like you guys have seen the bit of change that we brought into the breakfast meeting, and we're doing it for you. Like we want change. We don't just want breakfast meeting to be a tick the box exercise, like, oh, a breakfast meeting happens every month. No, we're interested in transformation. So this is a time for you to actually talk because sometimes if you don't talk or express, okay, what are things you've learned, you might actually just go back and realize that, oh, you're not doing anything. But when you talk and express yourself, what did you learn? What are you taking away? It forces you to commit to yourself. Like it forces you to say, oh, like Deshala has said now that she will start to pen herself, her thoughts down. And because I saw that, I was able to share practical. Sometimes you have the idea, but you're not really able to translate it because you don't know how, the practical side works. Now I went into my notes and I tried to share some of the things I wrote. Now that's enough to get her started. So
yeah.
I
Right.
want I want our breakfast meetings to be very engaging, very practical. Like this is a lab. Think about it as a laboratory. Like while you are getting cooked, like literally, like when you're done, like you should not be the same person that came into the breakfast meeting.
Mhm.
It's not theory. We're not here to discuss theory. I mean, if you want theory, you can read the books, you can read journals and all of that. But here is the like all the theory that you've read. If you notice on my slide, you didn't see definition of self-awareness. No, like that was not the intention. The intention was to birth transformation. Like I want us to leave this session transformed, like fire in your bones that I have to go and start that journey, right?
Yeah.
And we really hope that you see this difference and also just make publicize this. Anybody that's interested in change as well, like let them be a part of this because this year is a year of we're no longer like we're not doing things like before. Like this is the year. If you're interested in transformation, this is the year for you, and this is where you should be. Okay, so just thought to mention
Exactly.
that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for putting so much context into that. Yes, that's the goal for a breakfast meeting. I had said earlier that we are quite intentional about our community members. The goal is not to tick the box, like she said. The goal is not just to have a meeting, a 2-hour meeting. I mean, 2 hours of your time, you should be valuable. You should be getting something from the conversation. And thank you, Mama Katie, for shedding light on that. The 16 personalities test, if you could just share the link with us in the chat box, that would be fantastic as well for
Oh
anyone that
yeah.
wants to take that. I think I've taken it before, but I don't really recall what. So it would be great to take it again and then see about that. I think the 16 personality thing has to also do with Myers-Briggs, something, something, yeah, something around that.
Yeah.
So Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So everybody has access to that to take that test at your convenience. It would be great if you do it right after the score. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
again, procrastination. Don't procrastinate. Do it right now. Do it right now. So thank you, everybody. It's been a fantastic session. Breakfast meeting is every third Saturday of a month. And like she said, we'll be talking more about, finding yourself as well in the next couple of conversations and then confidence. I think she mentioned for March. So please let's look forward to that. Let's speak to other people to benefit from this because every there's this continuous improvement thing, Kaizen, that you have to, this, like you're learning constantly. And if you have the opportunity to get other people into that curve, please do well to do that. Thank you very much. We would always engage on the WhatsApp group. And for those that were part of games night last night, kudos to you guys. I heard that was fun. Sorry, I was at work, couldn't be a part of it. I kind of regret that, but it is what it is. And so for all of you that had, you had the games part of breakfast meeting that we used to have, now you do it, the night before. So you're gingered for breakfast meeting. And so thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Mama Katie, for always pouring from your wealth of knowledge and understanding. Thank you very much. And thank you for
Thank
doing this
you.
with us pretty early
Thank
your
you for
time as
having
well.
me.
And then you still have this high energy and stuff. So I love it. Thank you. So in the absence of any questions, again, we said that we're going to be more intentional. We're going to be more self-aware. We're going to pay attention to ourselves. And a lot of us have talked about the documentation. And then Shuri said, stop postponing joy. Stop putting off things that interest you. You know what? Celebrate it. Work towards it. And it's a lifetime journey. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon a marathon that does not end. So you keep discovering yourself. Thank you again, everyone. It's 4 a.m. my time. It's 6 a.m. Mama Katie's time. It's 12 noon West African time. Those in the UK, I don't know what time it is now. Maybe it's also 12 noon or 11 a.m. or 1 p.m. your time. But thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of this. So we're just going to close out with, you know, a closing prayer, and I would like a volunteer to do that for us real quick. We're a faith-based organization, don't forget that. So let's just close out with a word of prayer. Who is able to give us a word of prayer?
Our Father and our God, we thank you. We thank you for today. We thank you for the grace that we've experienced today because we understand that every good and perfect gift comes from you. Thank you, God, because we know that every single thing that we've learned, oh God, would not just be that we've heard it, Lord. Let it transform us in the name of Jesus. Lord God, we ask, oh
Amen.
Lord, for a renewed mind in every sense of the word in the name of Jesus. Lord, we
Amen.
ask, oh God, that even as we strive to be better people, that you would guide us into the knowledge of ourselves as you see us in the name of Jesus. And you
Amen.
cause every single gift that you've deposited in us to find expression this year and beyond in the name of Jesus. Thank
Amen.
you,
Amen.
Heavenly Father. Thank you for the organizers, oh God. We ask that it would not run dry from where this wisdom comes from in the name of Jesus. We
Amen.
thank you
Amen.
for the sacrifice that everyone has put in to make this happen. And thank you for everyone that has just been a cushion today. Lord God, let everything yield its increase in our lives in Jesus' name. Thank you, Heavenly
Amen.
Father, for in Jesus' mighty name we've prayed. Amen.
Amen and
Amen.
amen. Thank you so much, Fumita. Have an amazing weekend, everyone. Don't forget
Bye.
to put all of this into practical use. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.